the time. And so I always stress out about staff a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I feel
especially during the holidays, there a lot of them, everyone's busy, and
yeah.
so it's a little tricky. How do y'all handle that?
Well, I tend to hire people like young adults, so, and part-time, like all of my staff is part-time. I have one lead instructor that works maybe 25 hours a week. I do feel like it's a balance. Like I feel like I have to offer them a certain number of hours in order for them to be able to rely on it as a part-time job, and to also for me to be able to count on them. Like they didn't, get a different gig when I need them. So I do kind of guarantee them a certain number of hours on certain days, and then I do whatever I can to populate those classes and camps. Like for us, we always make more money on camp than like a weekly class. So I do really push, like that week before Christmas, our kids are off. We have 5-day camps running, half day and full day. But I have to negotiate with my staff like a couple months earlier. Are you available? Can I count on you? And I do schedule them in. So it is a little like risky. Like Thanksgiving was fine, but not amazing in terms of how many kids we had. So I do kind of take on that. Yes, I'm going to staff it. And I have a budget that I just put for staffing. But then I scramble to fill it because I don't want to, lose money. Yeah.
I hope to get to that point with the studio now. We've only had it since May, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to keep people working more consistently now that we have the studio space. Before, I don't know, I think it was just harder, and I think I'll be able to get more consistent part-time work, because some people work, like once a week, a couple times a month.
Yeah.
I'd like to look for more consistent folks.
Got it. Do you offer classes like every day of the week, or do you have?
So this was my first time to do it in the studio, and we only did 2 days a week.
Uh-huh.
They all filled, and so next semester I'll do 4 days a week.
Yeah, great. That's great.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Growth in your business. That's awesome.
It's happening.
Cool. I think that's really interesting to have your studio on your property, because I'm constantly, like right now I'm at home. I'm in California, so it's like 8 o'clock here. I'm at home, but I'm constantly like going back and forth between my So Now studio and home. It's like, oh, where did I leave the bias tape?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Kind of nice to have that all consolidated. Like, do you do your personal sewing in that space also?
Yes, I just run out there, lock the door.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, I will say the only downfall is that it's really hard with the out of sight, out of mind thing, because there's no out of sight.
Yeah, laundry's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, so every time, I'm stressing out. Like every time people start showing up, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, and if they do need me, they know I'm right inside.
Yeah.
So, that would be the worst part for me. I would never be able to just like forget it's going on. I would just always know there's a class going on in the studio that's right there. And like, yeah, I would have a hard time.
It's been a little stressful, especially over the summer. Yes, and they've come to get me, and it's like I'm at home. I can't really, I've got little kids. I can't really go in there and work. And so it's a work in progress. I mean, it's only happened a few times, but I have a better time if I just leave when stuff happens.
Me too. Absolutely. Like I have an office inside my studio, but I can only partially separated, so I can hear everything that's going on the floor, and I just have to really like, I guess I've had to become a boss over the years, right? Like I've had to say to my staff, you know what, I am not, like if you need me for an emergency, I'm there, but otherwise you guys just do your thing and do it great, because they do a great job. But if they know you're there, they're kind of like sometimes, oh, they're gonna ask you. So
did you have a hard time? Like I remember summers where I'd have to like get into the swing of it, where it's like I would do registration, but I had hired people, and so I was not scheduled to work, and I would feel guilty like doing other stuff. I don't know, it's like a level of Like, I would have to go, no, I don't need to get up and help that child who needs something and there's no teacher to help them. Like, I have to ignore that, or else it's just going to be like this vicious cycle of like, I'm paying them. Like, that's a huge chunk of money that I need to be doing other stuff. But I hate to see some child like struggling with pinning or something, you know, and you want to help them. And it's like, okay, no, I can't. That's hard.
It is hard. I have decided though that like, I think it's really valuable for kids to learn to wait. Like,
yes.
Like, whereas I'm always like, oh, let's jump in, make sure everyone has whatever they need right away. It's really not serving them long term, you know? So that's what I try to keep in mind now. It's like, you know what? They can wait. Because it's only like 5 minutes. Like, it feels long. It's only like 5 minutes.
That's a whole like coffee chat in itself, I think, right there is like the value of waiting to sew.
And sharing.
Yeah, we have a little sign like sewing is pinning and cutting and sewing and pressing. It's like those 4 things, not just at the machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's Allison just joined us. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, I'm Allison. I have a nonprofit in New Orleans called Rick Rack. We teach kids how to sew. We just started doing adults about a year ago. We're also a textile reuse center. And I know even just hearing like mid-conversation exactly what you were talking about, like instantly. It was,
So good, right? I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sorry. I'm totally got off. I don't know where my camera is. Okay, there. So, we're talking about today balancing work and life, and I think this is such an important thing. And we actually kind of started talking about it a little bit because Caitlin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi there, I'm Caitlin. I'm in Texas, a little north of Dallas and Frisco, and I've been doing this for about 2.5 years, but since May I had a studio renovated, and it's kind of interesting. It's on my property at my house in Frisco, so there's tons of perks and a few kind of quirky things that I'm working through with that.
And Susan in California.
Hi guys. So I'm in California and I have, so now we've been working 11 years now. And we opened and we had a retail concept as well as sewing for adults and kids and some embroidery service as well. And now we've kind of narrowed that funnel down to be really tight, and we focus on teaching kids and teens. And mostly garment sewing. So we have a line of patterns that we use as well. So that's kind of what I'm working on now is like our fashion kit patterns and then managing my staff to deliver great programming for kids and teens.
Okay, so how's your level of work-life balance lately, Allison?
It's great, actually, because we just we moved out of our brick and mortar store.
Uh-huh.
And we moved in there probably like a year ago, and then at our 1-year lease, our rent went up, and it went up like an insane amount. So we had to move out, and so my husband was probably the happiest person in the world. Like, I know it was hard for him to hide it, but it made all the difference. So now we've moved now back into our warehouse. We're looking for a new location, and I'm renting an office, still doing my office work and still doing my private lessons. And it's actually in a costume shop, so we can still offer our classes here. But right now, compared to a year ago, is night and day. Like when we were just getting started and up and running in brick and mortar, and it was up at 6 and out the door by 7, and then come home at 10. And then during that year, it might have slowed down to leave the house at 9, come back at 7, sometimes 9. And now it's like, hey, I have tomorrow off. Hey, I have Sunday off, or I have Friday off, or I can leave late tomorrow, or whatever. And my husband can be happier, really.
Well, and how's that affecting your bottom line, though? Are you finding that maybe you don't even need that retail location, or are you really noticing it with business?
It's more so it actually helped us actually having that location for a year. First of all, realizing the client and the customers that are in that part of town and who we were serving. and wasn't ideal for us. So it's actually right now, giving me a time to like sit back after a year instead of still being on the treadmill and research like and look at bottom lines. So like we've done a couple of pop-ups, and we still have the classes going at another like this location's temporary location. So like the business really hasn't slowed down that much, but it's just given me more time to really sit back and take a look at what happened in the past year. Like for sure, we work mainly off of donations of fabric and textiles and notions and everything else. So it's really opened my eyes a lot more to textile reuse and bring in sort of like this environmental aspect, which we did before. We always like brought in a lot about repurposing and educating about fast fashion and what have you. So this is sort of like changed a lot in our dynamics as far as making that a part of our curriculum too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But for sure, like a year ago, I mean, I've only been married 3 years, and I started this business like maybe 3 months before I met my husband. So it's kind of like, you're all in. If you want me, this is sort of like a part of it that's coming along with it. But I don't think he had any idea what would happen 5 years later, what he was in store for, Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I guess that's a good question, or like something good to talk about. How do you handle that, Caitlin? Having it in your basically in your backyard. How does your how does your husband deal with that?
My husband, he's some sort of like freak of nature. He's so nice and like supportive, and it doesn't really bother him. And he's happy because honestly, like our house makes us money. And so he's like kind of thrilled about it. We're not spending money on a retail space. And so overall it's good. I mean, most of the time he's not there, like summer camps, he's just at work. On the weekends, it's only a couple hours. We have a school across the street for parking lot. So far so good. There's been this one lady ran over our landscape and we did it by hand, and he was not very pleased. Anyways, but otherwise all good.
Oh, wow.
I know. And like an SUV, it was so sad. So, I was thinking like really personally, this isn't, somebody's like, this is our house. So he was pretty mad. But other than that, has been good.
Oh, good.
The location anyway. But my thing is just being an entrepreneur. This whole semester, I've really tried to focus on just relaxing because like last summer was my first summer to go 10 weeks. And it was, it was a big jump from the previous summer, and it was a little intense. And so this semester I've kind of tried to focus on just kind of relaxing a little bit. But my thing is, it'll just kind of peak up. When is enough? Like as an entrepreneur, when are you doing enough? Because you can always do more. And so that's what I struggle with, because I'm like, I'll get all these ideas and then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I should be doing 50 more things that I'm doing right now. And I just need to set goals, maybe plan it. I
know. I went to a seminar this weekend that was a bit related to this sewing business, but not exactly. And I was reminded, they're saying, you should, as a creative person and a designer, you should remember not to get tired of your own designs, because we get tired of our samples or whatnot because they've been around the studio for however long, but they're still new and fresh to a brand new person coming in to learn how to sew. And so I kind of had to like just look at how much, not so much money for materials, but just how much time and resources I was spending on generating new samples, because I myself was like sick of, the Halloween costume sample from 5 years ago, but the ad still looks fresh and the sample still looks fresh. So I don't know, sometimes you can rework things just by displaying them a little differently. And I think that's helpful. But I know what you mean. Like when you're creative, your ideas are just like a mile a minute.
Yeah, and I think it's also like important to kind of remember where you were like a year ago and sort of celebrate being beyond where you were. And even if you're not doing all the things that you wish you were doing, and and yes, you could always be doing more, but I like to like look back and go, all right, a year ago I was doing this and now I've got this. And I don't know. I think that it's important to remember that, yeah, we've come a long way. And I don't know what that sound is. Do you hear that?
I don't know what it is.
It's like a hamster wheel.
It's not like a hamster wheel. I don't know what's going on.
I think.
That's like how you feel when you're not in work-life balance.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sound effects that we have for today.
Yeah, natural.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's been like just staying on focus. I mean, on top of what I feel like in myself and for a year that I said, you know what we should do is I've also had 10 other people that also came along and said, you know what you should do. And they're all like super great ideas. And what I was saying right now, as far as like stepping back, it's given me a chance to really reflect on those. And I'm sort of regrouping our business plan now so that it can have more focus. So that when I do get those, you know, what you should do is I can say, well, it doesn't fit this, or it does fit that, instead of being too broad and saying it fits all those things and you're right, we should do that. Or in my head, right, we should do that. So for sure now it's more about focus. Like it's all about focus right now for us. It's like really like what's worked, what hasn't worked, and not drifting off the path and really like staying on the path with the ideas that work. But
how do you oh, sorry.
I think just as an entrepreneur, if you're starting a business, I mean, you are like an idea person, you know, like, I mean, you just are, that's your nature. You know, I don't think that anybody here would have started their business if they start off with an idea, you know, I mean, it's just our nature, you know?
Yeah. I think also as an entrepreneur, you kind of get restless. Like I don't know, like we'll get a curriculum in place and it's really working and it's, you know, perfect, but I get restless. I'm like, okay, I've done that. I don't want to always do the same thing over and over again. However, now we just kind of have to look at it more from a business perspective. It's like, okay, this Learn to Sew class is working. That's it. Just, you know, don't touch it.
Mm-hmm. Right, totally. If it ain't broken.
Just don't spend more money on it. I mean, you can tweak it different ways, but yeah.
So I think Lacey showed up, but she can't get her video to work. Lacey, can you hear us?
Hi, Lacey.
Hey, can you try this? There's a little button if you hover over the bottom, and it'll say start video. Try hitting that button.
Oh, I've been doing that. It's got a red line in it.
Oh, okay.
I wonder what that means. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about
Let's
it.
see.
Oh, well, we can hear you. It's fine. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, hold on one second. I wish I could see y'all. Hold on, let me try one more thing and then I'm gonna give up.
Okay.
Let's see.
Allison, I was going to ask you, what do you use? Actually, when I interviewed Susan, we talked a lot about, I actually listened to it yesterday because I haven't put it up yet and I wanted to write something about it. We talked about like eliminating the things that don't work and how we gauge, you know, what's working and what's not working. And one of the things that I don't do nearly enough is sit down with an accountant who makes me run these reports of like what we taught, what we made, how successful it was. And she was like, look at this. Like, this may be fun for you, but like, it's doing nothing for your business, you know? And she's open to like, is it great for promotion? Does it add to other business? Things like that. But she was able to like show me like, oh yeah, I'm trying to even think of an example.
Oh, you're a great accountant. That's amazing that you're.
She was, I mean, it was really, really helpful. She's not an accountant. That's the thing. She's not like a numbers cruncher. She's looking at the big picture. She's not going to sit there and like collect invoices or, you know, do the things I think that a typical accountant does. She can look at all the numbers with me, which is great. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, like things that I've just been doing forever because I've just always done them. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I think I made $72 on that last year. And it's like, how much time went into that? I got to stop.
Yeah.
So are there things that you kind of look at to gauge or?
I mean, I always feel like as the class is filling up and expenses are coming in, I sort of have like a tally in my head a little bit of a rough guess of how things are going. And it's more, you know, of a reaction usually after the class is over from the students, they come back and that kind of thing, you know. But yeah, there's like our biggest things are either our really advanced classes, like we're doing a draping class right now, and then we did a corset class and some things for the advanced ones, or the true beginner, like a true beginning student, and the one sort of in between where it's like an intermediate class or an advanced beginner class. I feel like people have sort of taken the beginning class, and then sort of left on their own and figured things out at home, and then come back for something else. I mean, I feel like the ones that we've done that were sort of in the middle, like we did a cape thing for Halloween, or a Star Trek thing for a Mardi Gras thing, and it was like nothing. You know, it was really just like, I can sort of figure that out. I mean, so we don't usually get those. But what we did start this summer was a membership where people come to sew, who, for us, you know, it's a big costume community. So it's, you know, everybody works on their kitchen table and dining room table, especially now between now and Mardi Gras. So it was offering memberships to people to come in to use the sewing machines, the cutting table, all of that stuff. And that actually did really well. It grew a lot. And that was nowhere near in our first idea or vision 5 years ago at all whatsoever. So, you know, we're sort of bringing that back into play, I think, in our next phase.
All right, I think Jamie Johnson has joined us. Can you hear us, Jamie? No. Jamie, can you hear us? No, I don't know. All right.
Hey, Megan.
I will say that I was just going to say real quick. I remember taking a class a long time ago about starting a business or something like that, and I remember part of the checklist in the beginning was like, you know, make sure you talk through it with your husband or partner or your family, and that they know what you're doing and that they're on board. And I remember going like, I mean, as a single person before, I was like, why would I want to check with anybody? Like, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a business, you know, like really not knowing that there'd be times where I'd have to say like, I'm going to have to break our dinner plans, you know, and, you know, like there's a lot of sacrifices that they have to make on our behalf that as a single person, you just do whatever, whenever you want to, you know? So I remember that being like, wow, I'm glad that this business sort of got grandfathered in because it came with me, as opposed to like having to really like ask permission to start a business. Now that seems just so weird. But then 5 years into it, yeah, like he's really had to give up a lot, change vacation plans, you know, like all those kind of things that you sort of take for granted, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think I do that as much anymore. I do have to say, like, I don't think I cancel as much and change as much as I would in the beginning. Because it's like in the beginning, you take every phone call, you take every job, you answer every email and every, you know, Facebook post, and everything's like the beginning or the end of the world, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Susan? What are your strategies? There's Lacey. What are your...
It's took me forever.
All right, hold that thought, Susan. And Lacey, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Lacey. And, oh goodness, there's like 4 of me on here. This is distracting. Okay, those of you who don't know, I'm in Mississippi. And I have been doing this, I guess, 3 years now. Is it 3? Yeah. Isn't that wild? So it's going great. Thanks to Megan and Caitlin. Things are going well.
Good.
What do you want me to do? You have anything specific you want me to share, or?
No, I mean, just tell us. You do mostly a mobile business, but you now have space in a small business. Well, tell us about your space and tell us.
Okay, so we teach around 150 kids a week, most of which are mobile in schools in our area. We have about, I guess, well, in May it'll be 2 years. I can't believe. No, May it'll be a year. No, I'm sorry, 2 years. It's all running together. Oh my goodness. That I got about 1,000 square foot studio in an art center. And I'm actually sitting in the painting studio that's right next to mine because we're having a homeschool class in there right now. And I thought I was gonna be able to do in there, but it's really noisy. So anyway, so we've grown. You know, I've got great teachers. There's, you know, not without challenges. You know, things are kind of trucking along. I think the key for me making this work on this scale has been implementing procedures and lots of, oh gosh, what do I say? What am I trying to say? Process has been key.
Yes, and I was
Process.
definitely going to bring that up as well.
Yeah.
But,
and lots of prep work. I probably over prepare, but I just really value that student experience. And when you're on the road and you don't have all that stuff there and they don't have everything at their fingertips, it's important for me to have it probably prepared a little more than I should.
Lacey is the queen of the 3 a.m. Can you hear me?
I
don't know what's going on. Wow. Oh, I think Jamie's trying to call in, so I just muted that for a second. Did you guys hear when I said
Lacey, I'm a night owl, big time.
I don't know how she does it. She doesn't sleep ever, and I'm always like, wow, she is up working late. So.
No, that's the only time my house is quiet.
Right.
These children are driving me crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, you're balancing a family, you're balancing this business. You also have another business. So you've got a lot going on. So what are the things that you've done lately? I feel like you've kind of, turned a corner a little bit and made your personal life a little bit, or at least, your.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not a great delegator. This has not been easy for me to do. And I think part of it is when you're an entrepreneur and you're used to doing it all yourself, there's a little bit of, I don't want to say I'm a control freak because I'm not, but you start to manage things in a way that you want them done. And when you're used to doing them so much yourself, it's hard to let go of that. And that's the only thing that's really kind of saved me. And I feel like am I supposed to look at Megan? Who am I supposed to look at? I feel like I'm all do y'all think I'm all over the place?
You look awesome.
No, I always put mine in like speaker or gallery view. So then it's
gallery view.
Everybody, and it's like
okay, Megan's like really big in there.
Go up to the top right and change it to gallery view.
Gallery view. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. Hey. Okay, so for me, things really started to change when I hit enough in terms of revenue that I could warrant help. And what I didn't realize when I was going through this is I probably was at a point where I could have hired that help as long as it was paying for itself. So I took a big, kind of for me, it was a risk. And I have an office manager that works between 30 and 40 hours a week now, which is terrific. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's, but I also, she's going between both businesses. So I don't want to make it sound like it's, and then I also have a girl that, and Megan, I don't know if I'm doing things right. So, but I also have another, she's a teacher, but she's great. She has excellent classroom management skills. She's really good and organized. And, I think when you're teaching sewing and then you're also teaching teachers to teach sewing, different perspective is so important because while we want creative expression and everything, I'm going and promising these things that I'm not out there delivering. So I've got to train these people to deliver the service in the way that I portray it to be done. So what she has helped me do is basically when a teacher starts working with me, we go by semester. So like where Caitlin has a very, Caitlin, I feel like is busy, and Megan, and I don't know y'all, but so y'all probably are too, but I feel like we're all busy, but our businesses have taken on very different feels and servicing different areas. And for me, everything is pretty much out except for my homeschool classes. I do a couple community classes. So for me to keep it uniform in terms of our service, my teacher, her name's Courtney, what she does is she cuts all my patterns. What we do is when a teacher comes and works for me in January for the semester, we go 12 to 14 weeks. I have a crate that is prepped. It's a file crate. It has got every lesson for the whole semester. And I've got her consumable materials in terms of notions, fabrics, everything for the first 6 weeks. And then I replenish that 6 weeks later. So I don't have to see her. And then she's got everything she needs. I want her to focus on teaching, not, and there's two schools of thought to that because I've made them kind of babies. They're over there, so I don't want to say too loud, but also they do a really good job teaching. And I think it's because they don't have to worry about anything else. So, but that's kind of just been my secret to making it all work on a larger scale.
I have a question.
Sure.
I think that's awesome. I do agree. Like the more prepped you are, the more they have the freedom to teach, and that's what we're hiring them to do. But so do you have some form of survey of your clients, or like how do you check back in to make sure that your standards are, or that what was delivered is what you had wanted?
I am a little, I mean, I don't want y'all to think I'm strange. I'm a little neurotic in terms of making sure that there's accountability there. So I've been short-staffed this semester. And so I have been actually teaching 3 days a week, which has been a little bit of a challenge, but I require that all of my classes have photo releases on kids, and all those teachers, they're snapping pictures of class and finished projects. And, you know, number one, you want that for your social media and marketing purposes. But number two, that's a way I keep an accountability. I stay in very close contact with my school directors. They know they can call me at any time. And then I also, I don't put best friends working together. So, you know, I mean, there's a little bit of accountability in terms of my classes. I run between 12 and 14 kids with 2 teachers. Mm-hmm. So one's an assistant, one's a teacher. If I go to 14, I pay them both as a teacher. And it's hopping. But my deal is you can do anything for an hour, you know, get up.
Yeah.
So, but, and I don't want to misrepresent the amount of prep work I do. They still have to work, but they're not digging through, like their week one's got everything there. And obviously with sewing, I mean, we project it maybe a 2 to 3 week project, but if they some of this is fluid. I mean, I've got toward the end of the semester, it gets a little messy because I've got kids that aren't, you know, classes that maybe are slower. And then one thing I was telling Kate and Lil know, if you look at her social media post, there's a lot more like creative expression. And, you know, mine looks a little more vanilla in terms of, I mean, I hate to say it, but to do it on that scale and implement in that many places at once, it takes a little bit of the creative process out. But my mission and goal in these after school classes is exposure. You know, we want them exposed and learning basic skills. So we've brought back to our studio the more in-depth stuff in camps that we would do more. So,
well, see, my business is really different depending on where we're working. So I do have a set of private school classes that we teach 4 days a week, and those are a little bit different. I've actually gotten to the point where we have to pre-cut the patterns because our classes.
Oh wait, the paper pattern or the fabric?
No, like the actual fabric, because the class is an hour, but we have to pick them up and get them dropped off within that hour. Like sometimes they have to be at carpool 5 minutes till the end, and so it's unrealistic for these little kids to cut like that. Plus my teachers are losing their minds. So my classes in the private schools, we're cutting that fabric for them. We also have been implementing lessons where we teach them how to cut fabric because they need to know that. We go over it, but it's not something we do every single week. We tried that, and we were taking like 4 and 5 weeks to finish projects. So it was just really complicated. But at the studio, it's different. We just have that full hour, and that's why it looks so different.
It's a little more relaxed too. But I was going to say really quickly, one thing, just so y'all know, this past August, actually, no, it'll be a year and a half now, I started a 4 and 5 year old hand sewing curriculum. We've got, I think, 30 something kids a week in that, and waiting lists in both classes. My goal in doing that was, number one, to get them interested earlier, but number two, I'm able to keep a better staff if they can work more. And you see, these kids get out of school at 11:30. So those kids are in class. My teacher's teaching 3 classes in a day instead of 1. Because most people needing a part-time job need more than an hour. So.
All right. So I feel like we've gotten a little away from the work-life balance part. But
I have no balance. There's none. That's why I'm here. Yeah. Tell me your secrets.
That's the whole thing. You know, it's like, how do you, I don't know, like there have been points in my life where, I'm working from the minute I get up until the moment I go to bed. And honestly, lately, that's what I've been doing. I was really good, I think, like a year ago, and I had a lot of, I was able to sort of let things go, but I'm trying to launch this new business and also maintain all of the things that I have going on. And as a sewing studio owner, I can't not teach, and it's
But
so
don't you think that's part of the struggle with this? Because part of the reason we do this is we love it.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to put that line on the work and pleasure part of it. But actually last summer took 2 weeks off and checked out. And I thought it was gonna be great, but it was really hard to come back. So, but y'all are, Megan, you're better at, I need help. I ain't right.
Megan, you're starting something new.
What?
Megan, you're starting something new right now?
Well, this hip stitch stuff, it's a whole other thing, to create content and to, I eventually want, I'm selling some patterns and I'd love to sell other people's patterns and kind of have this whole community of what you all do and have this place for it. But every day I'm teaching, almost every week, at least one class, almost every weekday. And I'm scheduling for the new year and I'm sending promotional emails. Like that's all the stuff
that's what I struggle with.
All of the marketing, all of the social media stuff, and it's like,
so Megan, do you keep a schedule on like, in terms of how often you send marketing, when you do scheduling, all that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal situation, right? Like I literally found some Excel files that I downloaded and it was like social media calendar, January through December. It was promotional email calendar and all of these things that, yes, in a perfect world, I'd like to have all that scheduled out. But it's not happening, right? As much as I would like to. Like I'll get a week ahead and I'm like really proud of myself. And then the week goes by and it's like, oh gosh, how did that happen?
And there's so many moving pieces, like the description, the flyer, the images,
Yeah.
Then you got to do it.
Yeah.
Social media is a whole full-time job in itself, I think.
Well,
What's that?
I'm
Social
wondering,
media is just,
do any of you hire anybody to do stuff like that? The promotional end of it? Like you do. Allison, tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, so I have a millennial. Yeah, I got one for doing all our social media, and she does my websites and emails and stuff. So she basically uses like my filter for emails. Like if there's anything that looks important or if it's the same old question, she knows how to answer those. If it's somebody that has something different or whatever, that she'll forward it onto me. So I got her checking.
So is that a generic email address?
We have a generic email address, and then we also have email addresses that are attached to our website. So like I have our address, which is rickracknola@gmail.com, and then we also have like Lindsay@rickracknola.com. We have all those.
Oh, you're in New Orleans?
Mm-hmm.
Are you in New Orleans?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're close to me.
I know,
2.5
right?
hours.
Right?
Road trip. Let's all meet.
So she also does that. She also does the Instagram posts. She usually organizes pictures, that'll come in from the classes or from whatever we're gonna do for Instagram.
How many hours a week, Allison, does she work?
About 20 to 30.
Can you pay her based on how many hours she kind of clocks in, or you have a set amount that you pay her a week, or?
I pay her by the hour. Yeah, totally.
And she just tells you how much she worked.
Yeah, she's side by side with me usually. So like, she's right next to me or close to me or what have you. But and I think that actually I'm probably going to give her a raise soon because I'm actually realizing how completely invaluable she's become to us and to me. But yeah, for marketing, like if I didn't have her, I would hire another marketing person. Like marketing is just.
Do you have a brick and mortar studio?
We did.
Okay. Where do you operate now?
Right now we have a warehouse where we store all of our donations. And then we have like right now I'm in an office in a costume shop.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. But I would definitely, the key for me is just when it gets to that tipping point of like, I've gone from 60 hours a week to 80 hours a week is hiring someone. You just can't, because one of my teachers always told me was like, if you're like a teacup and you keep pouring stuff in there, it's going to overflow. So whatever you're going to miss from that overflow, whether you miss a client, whether you miss a great conversation with somebody you could have had, you're going to miss something is going to overflow. So at some point you've got to go and get some R&R, empty that teapot, and then come back and be like ready to absorb whatever. But I feel like for me, if I'm pushing myself and I'm running it 60 hours a week and I want to have a conversation with one of my students because I realize she's, you know, a heavy hitter fundraiser, I want to be able to have the brain power to have a conversation with somebody instead of thinking about what's the next Instagram post I'm going to do. You know, do I do this for tomorrow's class? Do I do that for tomorrow's class? Like I've got to, if you're not there in spirit and soul and all of that to have conversations and be with someone because you're so run down, you're a detriment to your business. You know, you're not doing anybody any favors by overworking yourself, and certainly not the business itself. You know?
Well, and Allison, I don't know if you felt this way, but for me, it was kind of a risk in terms of, you know, I was a little nervous about that, but it increased my productivity. And so it was, I mean, ended up being changed compared to what the amount we were able to grow because of that step.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I kind of feel like this is the next step or where I'm going. So when I decided that we were getting a studio, the reason I wanted to do it, I was still in a mobile state of mind, and I was doing all these mobile birthday parties, and it was, you know, I was finding people not wanting to have the birthday parties in their homes. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to get a studio so that all of these mobile events can now be in the studio. I wasn't really thinking or prepared to have a studio that's open all the time. And that's why I don't really know where to stop, because my intention for the studio was for it to just house events that were coming in. I wasn't in the mentality of thinking, okay, now we're going to have, you know, are we doing Saturday mornings? Are we doing, you know, all these workshops and stuff? And I wasn't really there yet. And now that the studio exists, I kind of, you know, I have a lot more people asking for that kind of thing. They're asking for more workshops. And so I think I'm kind of at that tipping point where I think I could probably finally hire someone and have it make sense. And that's probably,
One thing I learned though, and Allison and Megan, y'all can tell me, I'm not a great delegator. And so, you know, clearly defining that role I think is important. And I've not been able to effectively do that. You know, I'm a kind of a pleaser and I was a little too nice from the beginning. And my person is fabulous and takes initiative on her own. But I feel like my style could have easily gone the wrong way without some more structure in that situation.
Hey, Susan, you mentioned that you have some for your marketing stuff. Tell us about that and how you kind of define those roles.
Well, that was just kind of it's just kind of a small piece, but I do have my instructors specifically responsible for social media. So they have every shift that they're scheduled, they need to do a social media post during that shift. So I feel like that really helps me a lot because, you know, if we should be posting 4 to 7 times a week, that's like 5 days that I don't have to come up with content, and also keeps it fresh and spontaneous.
Yeah.
So, but I am also kind of a control freak. So we'll do a staff meeting, sewing night, maybe once a month or so, but also like
That's awesome.
I have clear guidelines, like, hey, here's what we're shooting for with our social media campaign. And also it's great because my instructors are younger, and so they're like earlier in their career. So I kind of look at it like anything that I can impart to them, that's their learning and their growth as well. Yeah. And usually if you kind of frame it that way, and sometimes I'm still learning how to do whatever it is, they kind of get on board, and then it feels like much more of a team atmosphere. And also they'll go outside the box and come up with stuff that I didn't even, I don't Snapchat, I don't know all the different nuances.
Now, where are you located?
We're in Northern California, so we're near San Francisco. Yeah.
Are you on Instagram?
Sorry?
Are you on Instagram?
We are. So we have a couple Instagrams. So for our studio, at SewNow, SEWNOW. And then for our patterns, we're at Fashion Kit. So you guys can follow us and we'll follow you back.
SewNow Fashion Studio?
Yeah, probably.
Allison, what are you? What is your Instagram?
Rick Rack Nola, RICKRACK Racknola.
Okay.
I mean, I think for me too, like I try to think of it as like if I died tomorrow, you know, like I want this business to go on. Like I feel like it's been a blessing for me to have it while I have it, but it's not mine. You know, like I feel like I would want it to continue. Like it would be a disservice to this community if it wasn't here. So who am I to be like, it's all mine. I've got to do everything. It's all up to me now. So the idea for me is for the girl who's doing marketing and stuff now, but also teachers that I have too, is to also be able to know what the focus is and what the lessons are and the plan is and things like that. So yeah, so if I do have to do anything or drop off the face of the planet tomorrow, that this business can still continue. You know, it's a disservice to it if I try to hold all the information in my brain, you know.
I found that some of my people did things better than me. That was
I've learned. I mean,
different.
James,
Different. It's not better. It's just different.
well, it was a completely different perspective, which I think is important when you're teaching, you know, to see it. And that was something that was, I mean, I didn't think I knew it all, but I was excited that they could do this without me. You know, I just want to be able to go on vacation, you know, not lose my mind.
have to go on vacation. I mean, honestly, if you get like, I don't know, I guess I've been doing this long enough that I would have cracked up by now if I didn't figure out like.
I love your space.
Oh, thanks. You know, this pyramid, and I had to realize like, okay, my family is at the top of that pyramid, and so the business is right up there too. But it's like I just had to like draw a line in the sand at one point. Like I'm not working Saturdays and Sundays anymore, or you know, whatever it is for you. Like I need to have this time for this and create the business around it. I mean, we're the ones in charge of the schedule. So
Right.
even though sometimes the perfection has to go, honestly, it's like if I have 45 minutes to write a newsletter, got to be done. Maybe there's going to be a typo, but it's got to get out. And so kind of how
See, I'm not like that. That's what I need to do.
I'm not like that either, but I have had to learn to be like that because
Yeah.
you
I think
have
that's,
to nurture yourself and your family first.
yeah, the whole notion of like finished is better than perfect.
Yeah.
It has to be the rule, you know, as much as we're taught growing up that that's not the way. Yeah, there is going to be grammatical errors in the email that I just sent out, probably because I don't have time to sit there and go over it. But you get the gist, and people are going to sign up for my classes because they're reading it. And if you really have that much of a
Better they got the email than it never.
and they know about it, and they're signing up for your class, even though you've used the incorrect there in the email, you know, or whatever.
Oh,
I think I did that recently. Oh no.
Very humbling, but
It is, but hey, we got to do it. What are you all doing as far as like, how, you know, it's so funny. I used to work like right up to the last minute at Christmas. I don't know if you all celebrate Christmas, but, you know, do you have that cutoff, or are you doing Christmas camps like up to Christmas Eve and then the day after? What are people doing as far as?
we always do like, we're typically closed the 24th, 25th, 26th. Sometimes I'll staff the store like for half a day on the 24th, but just me, like I don't.
Yeah.
do you sell retail as well?
We have some retail, yes. So, you know, if you sell sewing machines, you're probably going to get a sale on Christmas Eve. So
Yeah.
Do you sell machines?
we do less than we used to, but we do.
What do you sell?
We sell Brother.
Okay.
Yeah. But this
See,
year-
I'm real irritated because all my students are buying expensive machines and I'm sending them to one place. The owner went to Mexico because of me for free last year for Baby Lock.
Wow. Nice.
My students bought 32 $500 machines from her in the span of like 4 to 6 weeks.
Did she give
Wow.
you commission on those sales, or?
You don't have any sort of thing worked out with her, Lisa?
I don't pay rent to use her space for my camps.
Okay.
But I mean, we're talking, oh, and then y'all love this. her speaker for her embroidery event back down. Now, this is somebody she's flying in from Baby Lock. Oh, Lacey, can you come do the event? Sure. They were buying $14,000 machines, and I got a $40 gift card.
Wow.
You need to work out something like.
I know, I'm a terrible negotiator. Terrible.
You're not a terrible negotiator,
But you get a deal on your machines from her?
Oh, yes, that is. Okay. So she sells me my machines at cost, at the dealer cost. So all of my students use Baby Lock Rachel's, which is a $525 retail machine. And I pay around $280.
but that's with the understanding that you won't turn around and sell them to your students.
Well, I'm not a
Why
dealer.
don't you sell them?
I'm not a dealer.
Right, but you can work out some sort of deal. Like, I'm going to go pick up a bunch of the machines that I sell and get them for what she's selling me for, and I'm going to sell them for the retail price. I'm not going to make, bank on it, but
Oh, she would not do that. I'd have to get my own. And I honestly, I feel funny if I can't service them beyond the sale. You know what I mean? I don't know that I'm ready to take that on. But it was kind of, didn't feel good when they were sitting in Mexico because of me.
Do you guys see that Jamie chimed in? She's been selling the Eversone product.
Oh.
And actually, I have seen those machines in the Brewer catalog and on the website, and I was always curious how the quality is.
I've heard they're great.
I have an Eversone and I love it.
You do?
You do? Oh, wait, that's right.
That's good to know.
You said they were a little heavy, though. Are
They're
they?
so very heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, for your studio, it's totally fine, but for mobile, they're way too heavy. And I didn't want to.
Do y'all do a lot of mobile?
I'm in awe of you guys doing mobile. I've never tackled that.
Okay. Well, I just tell you this, Megan, and I don't know, I had a workman's comp claim on me this year, and I'm having to start where I can leave machines so that people don't have to physically lift them. It was a rotator cuff.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
carry your workman's comp insurance.
well, we do that because I don't want, I don't know. I think it's just too much wear and tear on the sewing machines, and we have enough, and I just keep buying them, and it's worth it to me to not have the teacher lugging them back and forth.
And ironically, the school that I can't store them in, they don't have the space, is my children's own school. So
wow.
I'm the one hauling them back and forth. I'll probably end up in the hospital.
Rotator cuff.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been awesome, and I gotta go, but it's really nice.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Nice to meet you. Nice to have you on this call. I think we're going to end it here anyway because it's 12. So thank you all for coming out and chatting and sharing. I'll write up a little synopsis and post it.
And Allison, if you make it my way, call me.
Yeah.
Do you ever come to Mississippi?
Are you on Instagram? What's your business name?
So Fun Studios MS.
Okay.
And
I'll
then
include everybody's contact and everybody's social media handles. All
I
right.
ride the train to New Orleans a lot.
Okay, cool.
I take my kids to the zoo.
Okay, nice.
We have a terrible zoo. So.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you,
Megan,
guys.
thank you. Caitlin.
Talk to you soon.
Nice
Okay.
to meet you, Susan. Nice to meet you. Bye.
Bye.
All of you.